Sister Wives Season 20, Episode 5 Recap, Holiday Merriment, and a mortifyingly cringy meeting with Brody the cowboy. Christmas tree, the calm before the cringe. If you thought Season 20 of Sister Wives couldn't possibly get more awkward, more emotional, or more secondhand embarrassment through the screen, Episode 5 said, "Hold my eggnog." This week delivered two very different flavors of drama. A surprisingly reflective, slightly festive, and very merry-centered holiday arc we're calling Holiday Merriment. And a painfully awkward, toe-curling, why did production do this to her meeting with a man known only as Brody the cowboy? Yes, a cowboy with vibes. Let's break this down because this episode was doing the most. Snowflake Holiday Merriment, Mary's reinvention era. Let's start with Mary Brown, who is very clearly in her post-Cody, post-plural marriage glow-up era. For years, we watched Mary cling to scraps of emotional availability from Cody Brown. We saw her endure loneliness in a marriage that had all the romance of a corporate HR meeting. And now, she's decorating. She's reflecting. She's hosting. She's reclaiming her narrative. The episode opens with Mary leaning heavily into holiday symbolism. Twinkling lights, cozy decor, meaningful ornaments, and, of course, her signature mix of defiance and vulnerability in confessionals. She says this holiday feels different. Translation: this is the first holiday season where she's not waiting for Cody to show up emotionally or physically. And fans noticed something huge. Mary looked lighter, not just in spirit, but in posture, in tone, in energy. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't trying to convince anyone she was happy. She just seemed okay. And that alone is groundbreaking. Candle the subtle shade toward Cody. Now don't get it twisted. Even in her peaceful era, Mary can deliver subtle shade with Olympic precision. When she talks about past holidays, she reflects on feeling like an outsider and not really knowing where she fit. She doesn't have to say Cody's name. We know. Viewers have watched for years as Mary became increasingly sidelined in the family dynamic. By the time the spiritual marriage was effectively over, she was basically attending family events like a distant cousin no one really checked on. This episode feels like her quiet victory lap. She's no longer fighting for crumbs of validation. And the fandom? They're here for it. Cowboy hat face enter. Brody the cowboy and the internet groans. Okay, deep breath. Because now we have to talk about Brody, the cowboy. Production introduces this man like he just rode in from central casting. Boots? Check. Hat? Check. Country charm? Debatable. Chemistry with Mary? Absolutely not. The setup? Mary is open, cautiously open to meeting new people. And somehow, she ends up in what can only be described as a semi-forced ranch meetup with this guy. And from the moment they sit down, the vibe is off. Not hostile, not romantic, just deeply awkward. Grimacing face the conversation that wouldn't flow. You know when two people are talking and you can feel the silence expanding like a balloon about to pop? That was this entire interaction. Brody tries to be charming. He leans heavily into cowboy metaphors. At one point, he compares relationships to training a horse. Sir, no. Mary's facial expressions? Emmy-worthy. She's polite. She's smiling. But her eyes are doing full documentary narration. It's not that Brody is awful. He's just not her person. And the forced, let's make this a moment, energy from production makes everything worse. Fans immediately clocked the lack of spark. Social media lit up with comments like, "This feels like a parody date. Why is this man talking like a country Hallmark movie? Mary deserves better than a cowboy metaphor TED Talk." Movie camera production's role in the cringe. Let's be honest, this scene felt engineered. Reality TV loves a new man storyline, especially for a woman who just left a decades-long marriage. It's neat, it's hopeful, it's marketable. But this felt rushed. Mary isn't in her desperate rebound era. She's in her rediscovery era. There's a difference. And watching her sit through a painfully stilted conversation almost felt unfair. The camera kept zooming in on her micro-expressions. The pauses. the polite laughs. It was giving HR-mandated team-building coffee. Speech balloon Mary's confessional. The real tea. Thankfully, Mary saves the scene in her confessional. She admits she feels awkward. She acknowledges that dating again is strange. She doesn't fake enthusiasm. And here's what makes this powerful. She doesn't shame herself for not feeling a spark. Old Mary might have tried to force it, to make it work, to prove something. New Mary? She shrugs and says, essentially, not every connection is meant to go somewhere. Growth. Massive growth. Firecracker the contrast with Cody's energy. Meanwhile, back in Codyland, though he's not central in this episode, his presence still looms large over everything. Especially in how different Mary feels without him. Where Cody often brought intensity, ego, and defensiveness, this episode shows Mary exploring calm. And that contrast is stark. For years, viewers watched her fight for validation from a man who publicly admitted he no longer felt romantic love for her. Now she's sitting across from a cowboy and thinking, yeah, this isn't it either. And somehow that's empowering. Wrapped gift the emotional core of the episode. Strip away the cringe. Strip away the awkward date. At its heart, this episode is about closure, rebuilding identity, letting go of narratives that no longer serve you. The holiday theme isn't accidental. Holidays amplify loneliness. They magnify absence. And yet Mary chooses to create warmth anyway. She decorates. She reflects. She reclaims. That's why fans are calling this episode unexpectedly emotional. Speaking head fan reactions. Team Mary is loud. Online reaction has been overwhelmingly supportive of Mary. Many longtime viewers who once criticized her for staying too long in a loveless marriage are now praising her composure and self-awareness. The general consensus? She handled the cowboy date with grace. She didn't overhype something that wasn't real. She's finally prioritizing herself. Even viewers who don't always love Mary admitted, she carried this episode. Thinking face, was Brody set up to fail? Let's ask the uncomfortable question. Was Brody ever meant to succeed? Or was he simply a narrative device? Reality TV often introduces options for newly single cast members to show they're desirable, create tension, spark audience conversation. Mission accomplished on that last one. But chemistry can't be scripted. And this meeting felt like two strangers fulfilling a contractually obligated ranch hangout. Glowing star, the bigger picture. Mary's evolution. What makes this episode compelling isn't the cowboy. It's the contrast between who Mary was and who she's becoming. Once upon a time, she defined herself by her role in a plural marriage. Now, she's defining herself independently. She's not chasing validation from Cody. She's not competing with sister wives. She's not clinging to a spiritual bond that dissolved years ago. She's experimenting, even if it's awkward. And honestly, that's relatable. Orange Heart, why this episode matters. Season 20 has been heavy. Between fractured family dynamics and lingering resentment, it's been emotionally draining.